LinkedIn is a gold mine that can generate you hundreds of calls with clients who will buy your high-ticket offers, but only if you know how to actually use it correctly. But what used to work in years past on LinkedIn no longer works today. So let me show you right now how you can actually use LinkedIn successfully to generate you clients in 2023 and beyond. Everything from how you can optimize your profile so that your prospects know, like, and trust you, down to the exact messaging strategy that I use, which helps me convert over 20% of cold prospects into booked calls. If you want to make LinkedIn drive massive revenue for your business this year, then this is going to be one of the most impactful videos that you'll ever watch. Hey guys, my name is Lloyd Yip, and I've helped my clients build epic sales systems that help them get high-ticket clients on autopilot for their agencies, consulting firms, and info products. What I'll be sharing with you today is not just what I've personally used, but also what my clients have been able to deploy successfully as well in the past. All right, so the first question is, why are we even using LinkedIn? Well, the reality is LinkedIn is one of the fastest growing social media platforms out there, but unlike TikTok or some of the newer social media platforms, LinkedIn is all about business. Yes, there's 600 million users there, but they are professionals who are looking to generate more revenue in their business and progress in their income. And that gives you a huge opportunity to potentially make lots of money because these are the exact types of people that will ultimately want to buy a high-ticket offer. Now, the thing is, LinkedIn has changed quite dramatically in the last couple years. Whereas in the early 2020s, people were able to generate massive success from just sending a ton of automated messages, me included. But in 2023 and beyond, because the audience is now a little bit sick of getting automated messages and so many people are doing prospecting, LinkedIn has really clamped down. You're just not as likely to get success with these cold, copy and paste messages anymore as you used to be a couple years ago. As well, LinkedIn's actually changed a lot of the sending limits. And because of that, you can't even really send out that many messages anymore per account. So today, if you want to succeed in LinkedIn, you really need to modify your approach. So if you haven't already hit that notification bell and that subscribe button to stay in the loop, please do so that you don't miss any epic content. And with that being said, let's head over to my handy dandy screen share so that I can show you what's up. The first thing that you're going to want to do is prepare and optimize your profile. You do not want your profile to resemble what your dad's LinkedIn profile probably looks like, which is an online resume that collects dust. No, you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile almost resembles a sales page of some kind. You are, after all, essentially building a billboard with your LinkedIn personal profile. Now, a couple best practices. You want your headshot to be friendly and professional, but you don't want to be overly stiff, you in like a suit and tie, unless your profession really requires it, such as if you're in law or banking. And my cover photo is just like a skyline of the city that I grew up in, Toronto. You can do really whatever you want as long as it looks professional. Now, when you scroll down my profile, you'll see a couple other things. One of the main things that I've actually posted a bunch of customer testimonials in this little banner section here. So that's a really great way for you to have social proof. And then when you actually expand my role, you'll actually see pretty well-written copy that talks a bit more about what I do, who I help, the value that I provide. The next step is you want to actually identify and find your ideal buyers. So how do you do this? Couple options here. You can just use LinkedIn Vanilla, which is essentially the standard version of LinkedIn that comes out of the box. But the problem is that LinkedIn standard version throttles a lot of your functionality, meaning you can't actually search more than a certain amount of time per month, which is very, very annoying if you're using this for business development. As well, the filters inside the normal LinkedIn UX UI is kind of weak, so you can't really get hyper-targeted with your audience members. Instead, my recommendation is you just pick up LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's their premium version of LinkedIn specifically meant for business development. So the cool thing about LinkedIn Sales Navigator is that when you start looking for leads, you can actually utilize all of these really amazing filters such as their geography. Maybe you're trying to go after a particular country or even a specific state or city. And then you can also go after roles such as CEO or VP of sales. Whoever you're going after, you can target how long a company's been around or how large a company is in terms of employee size. There's so many different things that you can go after. Let me actually just drop in a couple different search parameters here. You can actually see the list starts getting smaller and smaller, and then you can see the list of prospects that are coming down that are of a good fit. You can save all of these searches as well. So let me just click over here. You can see some of the saved searches that I've had, and naming convention wise is just try to name it after the particular parameters that I put in. And then here you go. You have a search which is thousands of people large potentially, and these are the ideal buyers that you want. Now, what do you actually do with these people? So historically, my recommendation to you would have been to pretty much take this list and import it into an automation tool, which you can then use to automate all of your outreach. But in 2023, the difference is that things require a lot more of a human touch. It requires more of a personalized approach in order for you to stand out from the crowd. So instead of using an automation tool, what we're gonna do instead is actually go one by one, look at all of these leads, and custom create a message for them that resonates, okay? So we're gonna wanna click open their profile. We wanna send them actually a message on vanilla LinkedIn, so the standard LinkedIn, not inside Sales Navigator, because a lot of the times, if you send a message inside Sales Navigator, the message will only show up inside their Sales Navigator inbox, and if they don't have a Sales Navigator inbox, it won't really work. With the exception if you actually use an in-mail. So the cool thing about Sales Navigator is that it gives you a certain amount of in-mail credits, and an in-mail is essentially a sponsored message. But the benefit of these in-mail credits is that it'll allow you to pretty much get into the inbox of someone even if you aren't connected to them. Now, you don't want to do this because A, you're going to run out, but B, when someone sees that it's sponsored or that it's an in-mail, they know that you're probably trying to pitch them and they just won't actually answer you. Instead, what you want to do is go to their actual LinkedIn profile and then send them a connection request. The connection request actually allows you to also include a little message, so that'll be your first message. Now, the difference between LinkedIn and other platforms is once you send out this connection request, if they do not accept your connection request, you are not allowed to send them any more messages. And that's why you really want to send a great connection message that will get them to accept. If you don't, you're not going to be able to even have a conversation with them or continue to follow up, which is not great. Now, the way that we're going to be able to optimize for the connection request being accepted is actually by not asking for anything. The mistake that people often make is they'll start just trying to pitch. They'll start saying, hey, I got this thing, I want to sell you this thing, jump on a call with me. And when someone sees that as the first connection message, they're going to for sure just like block you, decline you, and it's just like a really bad taste in someone's mouth. Instead, you just want to have a very casual, well-researched opener that shows that you've actually paid attention. So here's a couple examples. We are on this guy's LinkedIn profile, Pete Van Nesty. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And he is like leading a sales team. So what are the things that I can research here? Well, right on LinkedIn, you can do a ton of research. You can open up the company and you can actually see, are they hiring for anyone? So for me, since a lot of the clients that I work with, I'm helping them with lead generation, I'm helping them with building sales teams, I'm helping them with growth, I can pretty much go to their job postings and see the fact that, oh, this person's hiring a ton, he's probably responsible for this. I can use that in my opener as a way to show him that I'm well researched. Hey Pete, notice that you guys are scaling really fast, hiring a ton of people, congrats. And that might be my entire message, right? Now let's actually look at one more prospect. Her name is Rebecca Klein. And let's pretend that my offer is I help people running LinkedIn ads. So how would I do that? Well, I can actually quickly just go into her company once again, and then I can see that she is currently not posting any ads on her LinkedIn profile. So if she's not posting ads, maybe something that I could say is, hey Rebecca, notice that you're trying to scale your company, didn't notice that you're running any LinkedIn ads right now, just curious, like how are you guys trying to grow? So that is an interesting opener or welcome message. You are asking a question there, but you're not necessarily trying to get her to jump on a call. My preference is you actually just don't ask anything. I think that's gonna optimize your overall connection acceptance rate, but you can just split test and try out a bunch of different alternatives. The basic idea though is that you're actually doing a little bit of research, which goes a long way. So The two examples that I showed you here, obviously they're research points that I found just inside their LinkedIn company page, but you could just look down their own personal LinkedIn profile, maybe posts that they made in the past, or you could go to their company website. There's so many different ways in which you can do research, which you can then apply back in to your actual connection message. Now, what you're gonna wanna do after that is wait for them to accept, right? You're gonna have to wait for them to accept, because if they don't accept, you can't even follow up and continue the conversation. But if they do accept, there's a couple ways that you can manage this. The first way is you could just pretty much pitch them, and you can just give them a tailored pitch, which will pretty much say, hey, reason why I reach out to you is because you have a certain set of goals or a certain set of pains, and that's actually what my business helps you with. And maybe you can throw in a couple case studies. So this is something that is still going to be fairly tailored, because you are researching what their likely goals and pains are in your message. But the thing is, this is going to have a little bit of a lower conversion rate, because once again, it's still kind of a pitch coming out of nowhere with no rapport. You know, the benefit of this is that you can pretty much just copy and paste this, and this can be much more scalable and much faster for you to send out to a ton of different people. The second option, which I would recommend if you have the time, and this will increase your conversion rate, is to actually have a full-length dialogue. Meaning you would ask them a question. For example, if I was back to Pete, I would pretty much maybe ask him, how many people are you trying to hire for your sales team? And we can have a little bit of a discussion. He can respond, and depending on his answer, I might actually be able to wiggle in the fact that, okay, you guys, are you struggling with your hiring? And if so, maybe we can actually give you a hand, you know? So that is like a little bit more of a roundabout way to get to the same end outcome. But because you're having this back and forth and you're building this rapport, you're much more likely to be able to get them to respond and ultimately convert. It just takes more time. Now, worst case scenario, let's say Pete doesn't even answer me. You can still just fall back on that copy and paste pitch that you have, which tells him about your value proposition and how you can help. So you're not worse at all for having tried a dialogue, but that dialogue will increase your conversion rate. Now, if you are curious to learn a bit more about just DMing and how to manage your conversations in the DM so that you can maximize conversion, then I have a video right here that'll pretty much give you the exact in-depth detail of exactly how to do that. Now that I've gone through the overall messaging strategy, you're gonna wanna understand the daily workflow that goes along with it. So because of the fact that LinkedIn throttles your sending volume to around 100 a week, you can pretty much just do this 20 times a single day. And if you're a busy business owner and you're managing a bunch of other stuff, doing 20 highly personalized messages a day probably is gonna take you an hour to 2 hours, right? That being said, if you wanna continue scaling out this process and do this still very personalized, meaning you're not just gonna be running to an automation tool, the way that you can do this is by just having multiple LinkedIn accounts. Each LinkedIn account can do 100 messages, so that way you can pretty much just have 20 messages for each LinkedIn account that you have. Now, I know you're wondering, where do I get additional accounts? I only have one. And you do not want to just start a brand new account, because a brand new account is, in the eyes of LinkedIn, going to be very suspicious if it just starts mass marketing and sending messages to people. So instead, you want to just go and buy an existing old aged account. And here's actually a website that you can pretty much go and do exactly that. So here, you can pretty much buy in bulk a couple LinkedIn accounts, and they're all real, they're all aged, and they're all pretty much clean by LinkedIn standards. That being said, I've spoken a lot today about how to do this very manually. If you're still very convinced about automation being your ideal way of using LinkedIn, that's totally cool. We still do some LinkedIn automated campaigns. It still works if you're running them intelligently. So check out this video that I go into a bit more depth about how you can really use LinkedIn to scale your outbound marketing. And by the way, guys, I've helped over 120 different agencies, info product owners, and consulting firms scale massively. If that's something that you're pretty interested in, then book a call with me below. My calendar link is in the description box, and let's have a quick conversation. With that being said, that's it for me. Here's some additional content that I'm sure is going to be super helpful to you in your business, and I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.